Hi, welcome everyone to ECPG Live Serving Latinx Communities. My name is Tana Russell. I'm the Assistant Director at the Evergreen Council on Problem Gambling. Welcome, and we are glad you're joining us today. Before we bring in our guests, just a few quick housekeeping things. As always, we have Rob behind the scenes. We are streaming this live to both Facebook and YouTube. So we are monitoring comments coming in on both platforms. You may see some of your comments shared across the screen, so our guests can discuss, talk, answer questions, things like that. What we do ask is that you keep them brief. If they're too long, we can't pull them on screen because they take up too much of the window. But if you keep them brief, keep them positive, this is a really, really exciting opportunity. We have amazing guests coming on for a very important conversation and discussion about how to better serve clients and populations and to be more effective. So we just ask that you keep everything positive, culturally humble, and just come with an open heart, open mind, and get ready to learn something new and interesting. So let's bring our guests on screen here with me. Very, very excited to have this amazing, amazing panel. Our guests today have decades of experience. They are all licensed in either mental health and or substance use disorder counseling, as well as they are all specially trained and have experience in treating gambling disorders as well. And they all wear, about half a dozen hats. So every time I have a conversation, I walk away with a smile on my face and having learned something new. So it's wonderful, super excited to have them on board. Thank you so much for making time for this for us. We really appreciate it. So I'm going to give you all a chance to kind of just introduce yourselves first. And we'll just start with who's on the top of the screen. Delise, do you want to go first?
Yes, hi. I'm Dalis Lagroca, and I am a mental health counselor. And I want to thank very much Evergreen Council on Problem Gambling for this invitation. I am here to share some of my experience in working in the mental health field with people with gambling addiction. And I am not an expert, but here I am, and very excited to be here. Come on, all of us. So, thank you.
I would say you're very much an expert. Absolutely brilliant. She also is duly licensed state level and national level and a national level gambling counseling supervisor. She's fantastic. Thank you for coming on board, Delise. And Julio, you want to give us an introduction?
Sure. My name is Julian, and I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist. I work with people that are dealing with mental health and addiction issues and have been in the problem gambling field since around 2013. I've worked as a counselor, as a family therapist, as well as a program supervisor and administrator. And I was born in Guadalajara, Jalisco, Mexico, and have been in Oregon since about 2010. Really glad to be here, and thanks for, Evergreen for the invitation as well.
Yeah, thank you. And we're looking forward to your presentation with us in October.
Me too.
Rob, I just mentioned it. So if you want to post a link to our October training, this would be a good time because Julio will be presenting at that with us. Yeah, William, you want to introduce yourself next?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. Thank you for having me. Thanks the Evergreen Council on Problem Gambling for putting this together. Thank you, Ms. Russell and Mr. Maya. You're behind, but we got you. My name is Julian Castillo. I was born in Ponce, Puerto Rico. And like most Puerto Ricans, I was raised in New York, in the Bronx in particular. Live here in Seattle now, where I work as a licensed mental health counselor. I'm also a substance use disorder professional, and I'm also licensed or certified as a problem gambling counselor, both internationally and with the state of Washington. Have a private practice, Westwood Counseling Services that I work here in Seattle. I also work for Coastal Treatment Services doing problem gambling counseling in Bellevue, Washington. And Yeah, excited to be here and share some of the knowledge that we have all accumulated over. I'm pretty sure we all have over 20 years of service. So there you go.
Yeah. And William is our first returning guest on ECPG Live. He joined us for our second episode on the pros and cons of telemental health services. So welcome back. Thank you for being willing to return a second time to this platform with us.
Excellent. I'll be back.
Excellent. Thank you. And Antonio.
Hi, everybody. My name is Antonio Sosa, and I am from Sinaloa, Mexico. It's a little bitty town, Elevano. It's near to the Pacific Ocean. And I have 23 years, almost 24 years in substance use disorder, working with youth and adults, and also going to for counseling and gambling. And thank you for the invitation. It's an honor to be here. Try to put my knowledge to help other people too. And I will say in Spanish too, because in case there's somebody else is listening to us. Mi nombre es Antonio Sosa, soy de Elevano, Angostura, Sinaloa, México. Tengo 22 años, casi 23 años trabajando con personas que tienen problemas con las sustancias químicas. Y estoy ahorita, le doy gracias al Evergreen Council porque nos invitó a ser parte de este proceso. So it's an honor for me to be here and try to put my little piece in this conversation too.
Thank you all for being here. And of course, Antonio has had experience, he said, working with youth and also with youth and gangs and experience with radio.
Exactly,
So,
yes.
Yeah, excellent. So before we kind of get our discussion topics kicked off, we thought we'd start with a little conversation about verbiage and what's good to use in what situations, etc. So Julio, do you want to start us off with that?
Sure. Yeah, so I guess the conversation is about like how do we use language to identify ourselves individually and also like the population that we work with, right? And so I don't think it's anywhere on the screen right now, but one of the terms that's really picking up steam right now is Latinx, right? And so you see a lot of news, entertainment, corporations, governments, universities, they use this term. And I think we were having a discussion of like, should we use Latinx? Should we use Hispanic? Should we use Latino, Latina? Like, what is the right word to use? And I think it's just a discussion to have because I think everybody identifies differently. It seems that, the term Latinx has been around probably since the early 2000s, and it's never really picked up a lot of steam. Even most recently, like there was a poll where they asked, I think it was about like 3,000 like people that are Hispanic or Latino origin, how they identified, and only 3% actually used Latinx as a way of identifying. A lot of people don't know about it. Some people know about it and choose not to use it. The majority of people used Hispanic. That's usually the term that came out of like 1970s when they were doing the census and they needed a term to, collect, this group of people that come from a wide geographical space, right? And really refers to like speaking Spanish, which doesn't even capture everybody, because if you think of Brazil, that's not a Spanish-speaking country, right? So a lot of people either use Hispanic, a lot of people use Latino, a lot of people use the countries where they came from. I personally have used Mexican American as a way to identify myself because I feel like I exist in both cultures. And I've seen Latinx, I think that is really speaking to less the cultural piece and more a gender piece. So there's been a lot of movement around equality for the LGBTQ community, especially awareness around transgender folks. And Spanish is a romantic language, which means that it's gendered, right? So there's the Latino, Latina, you have to fit into this gender. And so Latinx actually takes that out of the equation. And so for me, that's really what it's speaking to. But most of the population won't actually identify using that term. I'd be curious to see what other people think of those too as well.
Well, I like to see that everybody's welcome. So I wish if we could do something like Latino/Latinx. So to remind that everybody's welcome and that's gender neutral is good too. So.
Well, I think that again, I think Mr. He mentioned it that our language is very specific. So I think the Latinx probably is gonna be more to the newer generation, and even more to the generation of Latinos, Latinas, and again transgender and others that are here in the U.S. My understanding, again, when I'm asked nationality or ethnicity, Latino, I'm from Puerto Rico. I think that they create this diversity. I never use the term Hispanic. So for me, it's always been Latino. And if they need more clarification, Puerto Rico. So, but I understand the inclusivity, and it's a good topic to bring up. And thank you for doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it is. It's the other thing is about the person, how the person clarify his or herself in the culture. Like Julio say, is it's Latinx, and William, you brought that one. This is the future, and I think it is. It's for the new generation. Because they start like in 2000 when you say the Latinx.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a new one. It will be. I would like to see, in the future, that word Latinx.
Mm-hmm. What I kind of hear from you guys is it's okay to just ask.
Mm-hmm.
How do you identify?
Mm-hmm.
Right. I hate forms that just give me check boxes because they never give you enough check boxes, right? There's always something left out. How I used to ask once was, what's the gender you claim? What's the ethnicity you claim? And I just put whatever they told me.
If they tell you Latino, Hispanic, it also helps to ask you where are they from?
Yeah.
What is the thing is that with Latinos, Hispanics, even though most of us speak Spanish, actually we all speak Spanish except Brazilians, they don't. But even our Spanish has to be very cautious the way I speak it, and in Puerto Rico, and the way they in Mexico. Some words that I use in Puerto Rico, if I say them in Mexico, I'll probably get slapped in the face. So I'm just saying we gotta be, even that is cautious. And again, I was telling Dalis that I had a Panamanian girlfriend, and we sometimes we'll be talking and we didn't even understand each other in Spanish. So
doesn't
we
that
just have
happen
to
in
be
every
cautious.
relationship?
Yes, but even if you speak the same language, that's a little.
Oh, all right. Thank you for that. I think that's really important. There might not be any, hard set solutions. I think it's a conversation that will probably need to come up frequently because language changes over the years and whatnot. So I think it's important to have those conversations. So Rob, let's pull up our first kind of discussion topic. What role does gambling play in Latin cultures? Delise, would you like to take off with that one first for us?
Sure, absolutely. Thank you. I would say that it's a big role. There's a socioeconomic factor, and I think it started early childhood. Speaking from myself, coming from Panama, going to the grocery stores, and outside the stores, you can see people selling tickets, lottery tickets. So there's gambling triggers a stimulation everywhere when we're children, and we are exposed to in many ways. Remember rooster fights, raffle tickets, the church fundraisers. When you go to the store, sometimes the stores even give you items if you have frequent trips to the store. So then you come to the U.S. and you come from poverty and you come into another country, and then you're also exposed to gambling. At the same time, you have some social standards and pressure that you have to meet. You need to have a cell phone, cars, computers. If you don't have these things, you can apply for a job. So um, you need an outlet sometimes. So people come to America because they want a better life, right? So we strive for the survival of our basic needs, and then there's another piece to that because we have families at home and in our countries, and a lot of time there is the family expectation because we have roles that sometimes we have to send money to grandma for her medication, or send money for food to the uncle, the aunt. So, these are things that motivate people wanting to do. There's a benefit there that people think that gambling has that make people feel good. There's this financial chance or the illusion that you're going to make money so you can get better things and support your family. And, you know, and this is what sometimes motivate people. Um, there is another layer to that. There's so many of them. It's like an onion. So in my journey of working with people, I also come across with the trauma that is behind that. People have trauma that they haven't really dealt with it in the past. And it's behind the scene. And this piece, I give you an example. Let's say somebody um, grew up with this idea of, I'm not good enough, I'm worthless. So they can go to the casino because they want to feel good when they play. If they win some money randomly, then they feel good enough. See? So they also go to the casino because there is a grief. Somebody died in the family, or they have a relationship problem that they can't get out of the relationship. So, and then we have the mysticism, the spirituality that is with that too, that comes with that, the good luck, the lucky numbers. Maybe if I clean the machine and I do some prayers, or maybe if I have the dealer that bring me luck. So there's a lot of things that happen that definitely gambling plays a big role in our society, and also the family roles that we have. Each of us have a role in our family, that we're providers, and we want to help our family, and we feel motivated to go to these places. So that's what I wanted to share, and I wanted to bring it up for discussion too. If anybody has some comments, I'd love to hear what you guys think about it.
Are we going in sequence or we just jump in?
Just jump in.
All right. Well, thank you for that. Well, for me, again, being from Puerto Rico, my first exposure to gambling was actually in church. Bingo. It's like a big thing in Puerto Rico, and a lot of time it starts in church. After church, you go and you have food, and usually a lot of the bingo halls, at least in Puerto Rico, are run by churches. There's also the like Dalis mentioned, the rooster fights. That's just a different level of gambling altogether, because it's so entrenched into the culture that it's not even considered gambling. It's just like an activity, like a sport. It's not even considered gambling. The other one, at least in Puerto Rico, is boxing. We are big in boxing, and actually, Mr. Sosa will probably have something to say about that, because in between Mexico and Puerto Rico, we
Yes,
probably
a little
the
bit.
biggest rift in boxing,
Yeah.
because we're in the same weight divisions, and those fights take on a life of their own. But part of it, a lot of it, again, mostly bingo for the ladies, and rooster fights for the gentlemen. That's just again entrenched in the culture. It happens. Then in New York, it just takes a different level, because then now you're playing cards on the street, you're playing dice on the corners, and you're playing numbers. I don't know who's familiar with numbers, but it's a local thing. It's a spot. It's illegal actually. So they're just running numbers. You go in and you bet on three numbers, and if you win, you come in and cash out. But it's all done underground. So that's part of the experience that I had before coming to Seattle or coming to Washington, where the casinos are just so available. So it's one of those things. But as far as if we're talking about, again, Puerto Ricans in particular, it starts with bingo, rooster fights, and then boxing, and it just explodes from there.
Yeah, I think that sounds really familiar to my experience. I would even say like me growing up, like canicas, like marbles. That was like
Yeah.
the first form of gambling I think that I ever participated in, and like just the excitement, right, of putting something at risk, right? You really, really love your marbles, and if you're playing with them, they're like, oh, let's play with this one, right? And then if you lose it, then you just kind of have to deal with that, right? And so that starts that mechanism. But talking to my parents too, they would tell me stories about when they would go to the palenque. And so the palenque would be this party, right? This all night, gathering of people. They would come, and there would be, stuff to drink. An artist would come and sing, and there would also be the rooster fights, which is kind of where the gambling would happen. But as I was thinking about it, culturally, gambling is just like a form of entertainment, something that brought people together. It's just, and kind of like William was saying, is just like you don't even consider it gambling, it's just part of life. Because I remember playing loteria as well, which is like bingo, but it's got beautiful art, and it's it's something that came out of Mexico. And I would play that with cousins without necessarily putting anything at stake. It's just a way to pass the time. And then there are also like loteria games where you actually buy in, and then whoever finishes their card, it's the same as bingo. Whoever finishes their card first wins when they call out all the different figures. But I guess like one of the things that was different in working with people that are dealing with problem gambling, particularly in Oregon, was people who were coping, people who didn't have their palenques anymore, people who didn't have the places to do what they did in their countries of origin, in their cities of origin, in their towns of origin. And so now there's still sort of this conversation about las máquinas, que dijeron las máquinas, and a lot of it is that machine gambling, but it's isolated. It's like a lot of people are just playing by themselves, and they're playing to cope. They're playing to sort of disconnect from the stress of, one of the ways I thought about it for a while was just like, I think that Lisa was talking about this idea of migrating for a better life. Well, that's not always the case, right? So it's like the way of chasing the American dream is like, well, maybe if I win, right? And so, that's kind of how I've seen that play out.
Well, it's exactly what you was talking about, Julio. It is, in my case, I am from Sinaloa, and over there everything is gambling, but we didn't know there was gambling. I was what do you call joker? I used to be and race when the horses, only two horses, it's you and another uh, boy, and each horse, and we fight until who is winning. So, but I never thought it was gambling, but there was a lot of money bet in that one. The other one is Sinaloa Special, is volleyball. The volleyball, man, is huge impact over there. Thousands and thousands of dollars goes in the volleyball games. And sometimes it's two guys, sometimes it's three, and sometimes it's 1-on-1. Uh, and I never thought it was gambling. Chicken fights. Well, Lebanon is my little town is known, and even in the United States from that little town, Lebanon. If you talk about Lebanon, they will say rustlers, chicken fights, because the best rustler was from that little town. Horacio Gutierrez, who was my friend and passed away 5 years ago, even he was in the movies, tied in the we call a navajas to the rustlers. So in Lebanon is a history about gambling, parties, volleyball, uh, chicken fights, uh, bands, singers. They come to the little town every single year, and people from Mexico when they come to United States, all those gambling things they have in the brain that we don't see it as a gambling, and we are here, and we start to experiment these casinos. So now is the sense uh, to get something. I put this is the name that I put to this the gambling is the disease of hope. Es la enfermedad de la esperanza es como le puse yo. And I've been writing a book right now about that one, the disease of hope. And because it's a lot of things that people say, well, if I win this, I will be able to send money to Mexico. Even uh, it was a guy who said if he has his own business, and he was he wanna growing his business. So in the casino, he says, I win those so much money, I will grow more. I will have more people to work. I will give jobs to my people from Mexico and create big company. That is unfortunately it's not the way you make money. He lost the company. He lost. So it is the hope of winning. And the other thing is the connections between you and the machine. Because it's a lot of loneliness sometimes when people come from Mexico, like myself, when I came to United States. And when you are in the machine, it's nobody else, just you and the machine. So you communicate with the machine. You got the relationship with the machine. And unfortunately, many people, they develop more this addiction, this disease. And the other piece in the brain is the dopamine, because all those addictions attack the dopamine. And this is dopamine, the sense of the in the brain, the pleasure they give you. And every time the machine make noise, the brain start to getting wild. They say, "Oh my God, look at this!" And go tick, 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 the noise, and also the colors. So the brain captures that one and start to develop more. And unfortunately, it's what I see in my people, especially Mexicans people.
Excellent, excellent.
Mhm.
And we've got some questions coming in. I think we'll hold for a minute because let's see. Julio kind of addressed the question about the loteria, and then a couple other questions we've got coming up. We're about to get to those. So that's cool. I did want to ask one thing on this gambling types and culture and stuff, because you mentioned the horse racing and the rooster fighting and chickens, and that made me think of sports betting and how prevalent sports betting is in the US. Is sports betting a thing, whether it's on football or soccer, or is that something that's common?
It is.
Definitely.
Yeah, it is, Julio. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're right. Yeah,
I mean, it is, but it's not like the way that, you know, sports betting is taking off now with like, all, you know, there's apps and there's so much technology around it to make it easier. It was a bet with my cousin about whose soccer team is going to win. You know, it was a bet with my neighbor about who was going to win the boxing match. So it didn't look like it looks here. You know, it was just like with people within the community, within the family. And it was just, you know, cash.
Excellent.
Yes, it was not like you go again to off track betting or anything like that. Usually between families, friends. You know, if you're at a bar, yes, you betting with friends. But yeah, it's cash only, and yeah, it's very serious if you don't pay. Just so you know, it's
I guess it's like it's cash or
there are
valuables
consequences.
too, right? Yeah.
I think it. I think I also look at it from this perspective that as the acculturation that happens, it happens with the gaming too, like just like Tony was saying. So we go from that into going to the casino and incorporating these new things that are part of the gambling into our life. This new life in the U.S. becomes part of us a lot of time too.
Nice. Rob, let's bring in our next discussion topic because we're going to start getting to barriers and seeking help and such. So what barriers do Latinx people face when trying to access community and treatment help services? Julio, would you like to start us off on that one?
Sure. And so, you know, for this question, well, the first thing I think about is language. You know, so when you think about Hispanic people that are monolingual and they just speak Spanish, finding services with a Spanish-speaking provider can be really challenging, if not impossible. Then the next piece is just like maybe you find somebody who speaks Spanish but doesn't understand the culture. That's another barrier, because you can speak Spanish to someone, but if you don't know where they're coming from, or you know, kind of like Julian was saying too, it's like Spanish is spoken so many different ways depending on where you're at. So sometimes not feeling that connection with somebody who speaks Spanish but like doesn't speak it the way that you do could be a barrier to feeling safe or to feeling understood. There's issues like fear. Due to immigration status, legal barriers, you know, particularly right now because of everything that's going on politically and culturally. You know, working within the state of Oregon and saying, hey, this is a free service that's provided by the state. People are like, okay, what do you need from me? What do you want from me? And people are not so willing to engage or to give their, you know, personal information. There's fear of systems there, right? Maybe they've had bad experiences at the doctor, maybe they've had bad experiences other places, and so, you know, that's not something that they're interested in doing. Racial discrimination is a barrier. Maybe even, you know, along the lines of the language piece, like if a place has services available, but maybe you're working with a translator, that doesn't feel good. That's not going to work. Or if they don't have the forms they're going to fill out in Spanish, right? There's a lot of things that leave people out on the margins and unseen. Particularly with gambling too, some of the issues are, you know, time. Because I work with a lot of people that they have several jobs so that they can pay for the gambling and also keep the lights on at home. So figuring out when to be able to schedule appointments, particularly when you work in agencies that have the regular 9 to 5 time windows, but people are available starting at 7 p.m. or people are available on the weekends. And also, you know, cultural beliefs about seeking help, you know, kind of looking at patriarchal, like machismo culture, where I can do this on my own. I don't need any help, right? I don't need to go talk to a psychologist. I'm not crazy. I think those are not all, but those are, I think, some of the common barriers that I think people face.
Anyone else?
Like Julio said, yeah. And the other thing is shame. It's a lot of shame in the culture too. uh, barriers uh, for the services, like you say, for the hours they open to the close. People is especially well, the people from Mexico, they work in the constructions. They a lot of them, they work in the fields, and it's a lot of barriers for these people. But the shame is, I don't want nobody to know. You know, this is a problem. I know I can do it. I did before. I stopped before.
Mhm.
I know I can stop right now again. And
I'd like to add, when it comes to the barrier with the culture, it's like we don't have a lot of Spanish-speaking counselors. And when it comes, we have this interpreter sometimes that you can lose the meaning or the distortion that is happening. And when you work with Latinos, also you have to do the dance. I always talk about that, doing the dance, because you have to make them feel comfortable. So they are able to trust you and you can do the work. So this is something that is very important in the work that we do when it comes to the treatment and the culture. So the relationship is important.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think all three of them cover most of it. I think it's part of it is the shame is I think it's a big one. I think part of it, at least I'll speak as a Latino man. A lot of it took me forever to go into counseling just for the same reason. It's just like, number one, it's not something that our culture promotes. Maybe they're doing a better job now, and hopefully all of us here as providers, we do a good job of kind of like talking more about that and engaging people into that. It's okay to be to talk to somebody about problems, but I think like one of them just said that there's not a lot of people like us that do this work. So
Mhm.
who are they going to talk? The other part is again the language is a part, but also a lot of us again Latino men are pretty closed off. It's like admitting that there's something wrong with us. Oh my God, that will just defeat the whole machismo persona that we have going. Come on. So part of it is like we don't want no one to know. And a lot of time when they do end up coming to counseling, I do have some Latino and Latinas and people and clients that come in is because usually a female in their life made them come, and it's usually either la esposa, the wife, or the mother, la mama, and the number one person. Don't let anyone fool you. That has the most power in Latino family, la abuela.
Grandma.
If abuela finds
Grandma.
out, it's a wrap. She's bringing him or her, and it's a done deal.
And
But
Mhm.
I
la
think
abuela
again,
is,
La
so what?
abuela.
La
and la
abuela,
abuela
the
is the
grandmother.
grandma.
Mhm.
Oh yeah,
Mhm.
if she says you're going, you're going.
By the ear.
But that's the thing. We do everything not to have her find out. But once she finds out, it's a wrap. And I think the marketing. I think that there's not enough materials. Like I've been working, and I've talked to Ms. Russell about this. That there isn't like GA meeting in Spanish in Seattle, which I find unbelievable. So we've talked about maybe creating one, and this is something actually Mr. Sosa and I were going to talk about too, because we need to have one. He could start one over there in his area. I could start one here. We need to have one. This needs to happen, and it needs to happen yesterday. So
Yeah. Well, thank you. And let's pull in some things from the chat here. Hello, Janai. Thank you for tuning in. She asks, does offering virtual care create more openings for accessing services? Is that a pro? That help?
well, I think it might. It might again if people are open, but it's still again it's still they have to feel comfortable. They have to trust. They have to feel that there's gonna be a sense of confidentiality. So it's one of those things. I think Julio mentioned it that their immigration status plays a role in everything they do, whether they get any type of health services for that matter, not just gambling or counseling. So it all depends, but I like to say that it does on that note, because then they don't have to come to any establishment and they could do it from their home. So it should alleviate some of that, but it's still going to be about the person doing the counseling. I hate to say it, but most of us Latinos are going to feel more comfortable talking to someone in our own language. Our language is not as easy as people may think it is. Actually, I think it's one of the hardest languages to learn and to communicate, because we have a word for everything, and it's very intricate. It's not just like, I'm sorry, English is easy, Spanish is not. Especially writing Spanish, that's another level of craziness. But even speaking Spanish, because again, I'm from Puerto Rico, Mr. Sosa and Julio are from Mexico. Senora Dalia or Dalis? What? I don't want to get wrong. All right, she's from Panama. So when we get together, we all like so cautious. Like, we need to speak proper Spanish. We need to be very careful. So it all depends. It all depends. So yes, and maybe no. I'm not sure.
Yeah. And let's see, Maureen, if you see a comment coming through that says it's from our agency, that usually means it's either Rob behind the scenes or Maureen who's tuning in and participating in the discussion. So Maureen asked a question about immigration, and is that a barrier for accessing treatment because they might have immigrated to this culture? And I mean, we'll get to that in a minute, but is there a way treatment providers can work with that fear or help to ease that in any way?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it definitely feels like it plays a role for sure, 100%. Particularly like at the changes, like presidential administration, you saw a lot of Latino people like stop seeking services as much as they were before. But one of the things that I've done with clients prior to starting services with them, and this is about engagement, and this is one of the things that I saw like needed to be different. So like if somebody's coming in to get any kind of problem gambling services or something, they call the agency, and the agency makes an appointment for them to fill out paperwork and then go straight into an assessment where they're essentially disclosing a lot of very private personal information that they're telling someone that they've met for the first time, right? And this is after they've had somebody ask them for their home address, potentially a social security number, what kind of work they do, how much money they make, sign a bunch of paperwork. Maybe it's in their language, maybe it's not, right? And so yeah, some people aren't going to stick through that, or some people are afraid of that process. So what we would do is somebody calls for help, and then you invite them in to have a conversation where you just talk about like, hey, this is what we have to offer. This is how we protect you. This is how we protect your information. These are some of my values, and you're actually going to be working with me, right? So instead of having to talk to 3 different people, they're just talking to either the mentor or the counselor, and you just have to establish trust with that person. Once that trust is established, okay, well, if the way that I can help you is we're going to have to fill out this paperwork, and I can do it with you. We'll do this together, because there's also issues around literacy sometimes for people, right? So we got to help them like fill that out. And then after that, we go into assessment. But by this point, you've already spent like 2 or 3 weeks connecting with this person prior to them even coming in. Right. And so that work up front is really important from my perspective in being able to engage people in a good way for treatment.
Awesome. Thank you. And I see a comment coming in from Kitty Hearts. Hello, Kitty. Thank you for tuning in. What concerns do you have about digital handheld gambling? Latinx people are disproportionately impacted by online platforms. Concerns there? Thoughts?
Go ahead, Mr. Sosa.
Okay. What concern do they have a digital? Well, concern is there's a big concern, because there are a lot of pieces in the gambling, and online.
A lot.
Yeah, it's a lot. And every time the people open the cell phone, they have, uh, they are different games. And also the online games, they give you uh, so many what do you call coins just to start, and they are other ones free.
Right.
So it's a lot of, for me, it's a lot of concern, and especially right now when the COVID-19 that we are in home, the people are more exposed to gambling. As I don't know about this is my concern, but
One
can
of
you
my biggest, oh, sorry.
add
Go ahead.
something? Yeah, add it.
One of my bigger concerns is the lack of awareness. It's like to reach out to the community and bring awareness about it, because I would say that people can be very naive about it. They can start playing with something and then they end up losing a lot of money, and they're not aware of what they're doing by using a credit card, and they don't understand. Some of them, they don't know that it's gambling
Mm-hmm.
because they're playing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that's one of my biggest concern with that.
All right, let's bring in our next discussion topic. And we'll try to keep this to an hour. So we've got about 15 minutes here. Let's see if we can do that. For those seeking help services, what might be their top values or concerns? William, do you want to take a stab at this first for us?
I can, absolutely. I think for me, for what I've known for the people that come through either my office or my office at Coastal is confidentiality is one. And the cultural relevance. They want to feel that somebody understands them. They don't want to feel that they need to. If you come into counseling, my understanding and my belief system is that you want to be able to share whatever. And I think if you don't feel that there's some kind of cultural relevance, or you don't connect with the therapist, whether it's in their own language or you might look similar or share something in common, that you lose some of that connection. You lose some of that, feeling safe. So safety, confidentiality, cultural relevance. I would think that those are the first thing that you want to make sure that the information is going to stay there. That no other entity, organization is going to find out. And I'm with Julio on this one. Like the first meeting shouldn't be about filing 1,000 forms. It's like I find that so disrespectful, and there's no connection. The first meeting, the way I do it, is always like, how can I help? And I don't even use my pen. I don't write anything down. I want to spend time connecting, see how I can help. So I think making them, feel comfortable and that you actually care. Because again, I don't know if that's the American way where you go, the first thing they ask you, they don't even look at you, where's your insurance card? And it's like, there's a lack of something there. So when they come in, hey, how can I help? If I can't help, I could help you get the services. Let's talk. And by the time of the half hour, 1 hour, whatever it takes, then they will feel more comfortable. And I think Julio brought out something that's important too, the level of literacy. I mean, some people that come from different countries, they don't have education, or they have low levels of education, so they might not know how to read or write. So that part also prevents people from coming to counseling, because they don't want to come across that uneducated, or they don't have a particular skill set. So I would say those things, just for the sake of time and keeping it to 1 hour. I'm gonna leave it at that. Go ahead.
What about the family, like the value of if they come with a family member, the value of including them or acknowledging the family there too. I think that's something that we have to remember too.
Yeah, I agree with Elise on that one. It seems like either, they come and they bring their entire family, or they come and they don't want anybody to know.
And the other thing is the important piece is to see the person as a person, not as a number.
Yeah.
So, yeah, unfortunately, that is the most important part, because the person who is there, we have to be very open to hear that person,
That's right.
to hear. And like Julio say and William, is we have to spend time with them, not them with us. We, because they are looking for hope. They are looking for something. They don't want to be here and hear me say something. I am here to hear you. What things that brought you to this office? What do you want to have from this office? What do you want to take home from me or from this office? So this is the most important value. They unfortunately, like William say, many agencies say, "What kind of insurance you have?"
The
You
first
know,
thing.
Yeah.
are
It's
you
true.
to sell me insurance or what? You know, yeah, you're right. This is not.
And I think what's interesting about that is that like people are used to that, you know. Dominant culture people, they know that if they're going to need support or help, that's what they have to deal with. The issue about helping a community that's already marginalized is that if you start there, they're already not coming in, right? They're needing the support. Those services are badly needed in the community. So we have to like look at how we engage people. It would be really great if we could do that change across the board, which probably isn't going to happen. But if we're trying to serve our community in the best way possible, we really have to make that human to human connection our top priority. Everything else comes after that.
But also that remember our cultures are more, if you don't have the money, doesn't mean you're not gonna get treated. Then it's like we barter. Like, okay, so I'll do this for you and you make me some tamales or you clean my car or you cut my grass. It's like that's at least in Puerto Rico, that's how it's done. You go to a doctor, you bring the I've been to a doctor with a bag full of mangoes. Hey, this is all I have. Like
Yeah.
I could bring you more later. No, don't worry about it. What's wrong? And again, in Puerto Rico, I guess for me, it was different. I come from poor beginnings. We used to live in the interior, and it's like you bring the doctor, whatever, they will see you. Over here, you'll die at the ER if you don't have insurance. So I'm just saying, it's just a different lifestyle.
Excellent. I feel like we need to do a part 2 of this in a few months. And it's going. It's so lively. I'm loving it so much. The time is just flying. I love it. Let's do our last discussion topic. And let me make a quick plug as well, because one thing we do always do is get any comments or questions that come in that we didn't get a chance to on the show. We will shoot those to you in an email after, so you can add more thoughts. We'll add links and resources and all that good stuff. And it gets put on our blog as an ECPG extra with the title of this episode. So we get to expand more. All right, Rob, what is our last one here? In what ways can Latin communities be reached with messages of help and hope for problem gambling? And Antonia, would you mind starting us off on this one?
Okay. Well, there's a lot of ways to reach these people. For example, right here in the Skyshed, there's a lot of farms, farm workers. So we take information, and that's I was doing before with the substance abuse program. I took a video and went to different farmers and showed the video and give the information. And it's a lot of farms over here. So it's one piece to help these people, the Latino people. The other one is churches. There are churches over here, man. That we can take the information to the pastor or to el padre, como le decimos en la iglesia católica.
El cura.
So, yeah, the other one is in the radio station. No? I was in the radio station for 27 years, but due to the COVID, I stopped out the radio station. So right there is we have programs in Spanish. and I will go back again to this program. The other one is community meetings. There are many community meetings, so we can take those information to the people. The college, the schools, in the school they are parent meetings, so we can take information to them too. Uh, I don't know what else you can add anybody else to how we can reach our Latinos.
Well, it helps to have all this material translated in Spanish, so that's one. And have it like you said. I agree, totally agree. Churches, schools, community centers, everywhere, hospitals, health centers, just where a lot of people go. Even places where people go and get daily labor work, whatever. Just have it and have it out where people are exposed to it and have access to it.
Yeah. And I'll make a quick plug because we do have some, not enough, but what we can gather, gambling screens and some workbooks and such in Spanish on our website on the Spanish web page, which I believe Rob put in the comments at the beginning. Yes, there it is. So people can go on, click, download, and they've got some stuff there that's available. And we will keep adding to it the more we can find things. I see projects online where people are translating more. So as I find them, we'll add them. What was that?
We need billboards, Ms. Russell. Billboards. Okay, can we get some billboards, please?
I think picture of people that they can identify with, that we can identify with the pictures of when when we're promoting or we want to share information.
The other thing is we can get together. We can get some place over here in the Skype, for example, and we can come with the presentation and information to everybody. That's another way to do it.
Let's do it. I'm in.
Yeah. Okay.
Let's
do it. Let's do it.
We'll come get some tamales and we'll get this going.
Oh yeah, we will have nice tamales.
I'll bring the rice. I got you. I'll bring the rice.
And we'll do what we can to help facilitate. Oh, excellent, excellent. So we've got the website posted in the chat for everyone. Hey, welcome, Jerry and Troy. Thanks for tuning in. Glad to see you in. Jerry asked about the GA in Spanish, and William had mentioned that in the beginning. We need some. We need GA meetings in Spanish. So if there's enough people that can make that happen, GA has guidelines on their website. You can go visit to find out how to start a GA meeting according to their guidelines. People can check that out and get those started. All right. Well, again, thank you, everybody. Anything else? Any last thoughts you wanted to add? I just really appreciate this. This has gone by so fast. It's been amazing.
No, thank you for facilitating this. This is awesome. I agree with you. I think we should have a part 2 and 3, just because there's so much to cover. But also on the loteria part, in Puerto Rico, the loterias are different. When you buy lottery tickets, which are called billetes, they already have the number. You don't choose the numbers, and you buy them from a quarter to $1 to a whole sheet. So that's how they do it in Puerto Rico. I'm not sure how they do it in Mexico and Panama, but
the same.
There you go.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same. You buy numbers.
Excellent.
Yeah, you don't choose them. The numbers are already there. So that's real good luck.
Right.
So it's a game of chance, not a game of skills.
Thank you. Yeah, game of chance. Yes, that's good.
Well, thank you so much. This has been incredibly, incredibly beneficial. I've learned so much. I hope that the people tuning in learned new things and hopefully are walking away feeling like they can take a more culturally sensitive approach, a client-centered approach to everybody that walks in their door. I think you guys had some really out-of-the-box and great ideas for improving the way we even start services. Not with what's your insurance.
Oh my God.
Right. So thank you. Reminder to our guests, stay on real quick. And Thank you, everybody tuning in. Appreciate it.
Thank you.